Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Sunday service of Now Creations. Let me begin by thanking so many of you for your nice birthday wishes for me today. Happy to be with you. Happy to have all of you with me. Happy to be together in a wonderful spiritual community. Thank you. More important than my birthday is the fact that we are celebrating the 18th anniversary of Now Creations. Now Creations is the best it's ever been because we are the best that we've ever been, truly. More important than that, I invite all of you to join us tonight for our topical conversation concerning children's literature. Karen will deliver a wonderful presentation. I encourage you to download the information from the email you would have received on Friday. And you can join us either by going through the email or simply going to our website, clicking on study groups, and then scrolling down to topical conversations. Let's begin. My dear friends, thank you again for joining me in today's Sunday service and teaching. Over the past several Sunday teachings, we have done some very heavy but necessary lifting. This heavy lifting included teachings such as you are one with the God Spirit. You have the God Spirit always on your mind. You are becoming your own Messiah. You are the new species arising on the planet. You are taking your place in the second coming of the Christ. You are ushering in the kingdom of God. And my two favorites, when Jesus said, what I will do, you will do, and even more, and especially the beautiful teaching of the Hopi Indians, we are the ones that we've been waiting for. And the resulting question that I pose to you, so what are we waiting for? Let's step up and be that God Spirit from within us. So this week, I thought that we would lighten up a little, but also add to the teachings that we have just completed. So to do so, I'm going to begin with a little Aristotle, then add a little more Aristotle with a little twist from the Buddha, and then finally conclude with a little more Aristotle. So today's teaching is entitled Man's Greatest Delusion. Our greatest delusion. This will be light, it'll be fun, elevating, and you might want to take some notes. First, a little Aristotle. One of the reasons I've always enjoyed the teaching of Aristotle is that he's always down to earth. He begins with a very practical question that's quite realistic, and then he proceeds to answer it. So here's one of his most important questions. He asks, what is it that most people desire in life? His response, most people desire happiness. People desire to be happy. And then Aristotle, being Aristotle, would go on to say, well, what constitutes happiness? Listen clearly. He answers, happiness results by living according to virtue. Or a word we might say today is that happiness results when you live by the best parts that you have within yourself. Happiness comes from living from the best aspects of what you are. That's pretty clear so far. Now for a little more Aristotle, mixed with a little Buddhism that I will give a spiritual twist to. Aristotle taught that we have two wonderful aspects of ourselves. We have two wonderful aspects of ourselves that give guidance to our desire for happiness. The first aspect. The first aspect that Aristotle taught is to live by reason, using your intelligence to navigate in the everyday world of making a living, engaging in relationships, and simply dealing with the ups and downs of the world. It was through this teaching that Aristotle then developed this formula for worldly wisdom that he called the golden mean. By the golden mean, Aristotle meant to live with balance in the world, not to have too little, not to have too much. For as Aristotle taught, it's very easy to go to extremes. Very easy to go to extremes. Not so much of having too little, but rather having too much. The extreme of having too much. Now, this is where Aristotle needs a little spiritual assistance from the Buddha, especially from the second noble truth of Buddhism, which simply states that man's suffering in the world, our suffering in the world, is the result of our desires that do not satisfy. I'll say that again. The problem with human suffering is that we pursue things, desires, that do not satisfy. Now we're getting to the basis of today's teaching, man's greatest delusion. Well, this delusion has been presented by many spiritual teachers. It basically boils down to this: man's greatest delusion. Our greatest delusion, see if this is not true, is the belief in the necessity of fulfilling one's personal desires and duties before satisfying our first desire, the supreme desire for God. Our greatest delusion is satisfying first personal desires and duties before satisfying the one supreme desire for God. For from this delusion, all of the other delusions occur. Namely, well, I need this relationship first before I move into my relationship to the divine. I need this job first before I'll take the time to spend time with the divine. I need these possessions first. You begin to understand just more and more and more. The things of the world cannot fulfill. The things of the world cannot fulfill the vacancy of God in your soul. Try as you might. Go to the extremes, which many of us have. The things of the world will never fulfill the vacancy of God in our soul. People, as the Buddha rightly pointed out, begin to live in the bedlam of misery caused by their own desires. You know the story. We've all been there in the past. People rerun the old movies, hoping for a different result, but ending up in the same old place of trying to bring meaning into their lives, trying to fulfill the vacancy of happiness that only the God Spirit can fulfill. It's just the truth. Trying to fulfill with stuff that only the God Spirit can fulfill. A good question that Aristotle and the Buddha both raised was, well, when will this endless desire for what does not fulfill, stop. It's a good question for all of us to ask, isn't it? When will this struggle stop? When will this boredom stop? When will this pain stop? The answer very simply is the struggle will stop when you find what ultimately satisfies you. The pain will stop when you stop identifying primarily with sense pleasures, especially the sense pleasures of the body and the physical world, possessions. The boredom will stop when you stop getting stuck in desires that keep you temporarily rooted in pleasure, which often then result in displeasure, pain, or boredom. The difficulties will stop when you do not base your life on the external contingencies of happiness. The difficulties will stop when you don't base your life on the external contingencies of happiness that satisfy for a while, but then again result in that displeasure, pain, or even boredom. So we're ready now, I think, for a little more Aristotle, again with a spiritual twist that I will give to him. Aristotle, being as perceptive as he was, realized that the human being, simply using his head, his reason, could still get trapped in the things of the world, which the Buddha clearly presented, and that this state of being trapped could even be worse than simply trying to think things out. Thus, Aristotle then acknowledged a second and more noble aspect that we have. An aspect beyond simply the use of your mind so that you could navigate better in the world. Aristotle taught that this more noble aspect of human beings is our natural ruler and guide. He said that this most noble aspect is the most divine part that we have within ourselves. And just follow the argument that activity in accordance with this most noble aspect will give you perfect happiness. That's what Aristotle said, that activity following this most noble part of us will give us the greatest happiness. Let's see if that's true. Before I mention what this more noble aspect is, let's pause just for a moment and realize what Aristotle taught. That when we follow the more noble aspect of being human, it will bring us the greatest happiness. Now, doesn't it just make sense? When you follow the best part of yourself, it'll give you the greatest happiness. Now, you just got to take a look at that. When you follow the best part of yourself, well, would that not then give you the greatest happiness? And yet you wonder why so many people in the world don't follow this greater aspect of themselves. The reason I think why many people do not follow this more noble aspect is what I've explained at the beginning of the teaching. They are too tied up. They're too immersed in the body and sense pleasures that come and go. Too immersed in sense pleasures that come and go, causing them to be on the hamster wheel of suffering. Too wrapped up in temporary desires that don't satisfy, as the Buddha noted. This is the great delusion, the game of separation that has gone on for lifetimes after lifetime after lifetime, being caught in the stuff that doesn't satisfy. Okay, let's get back to Aristotle. So what is that more noble aspect of human beings? More noble than simply thinking. That in Aristotle's words, is our natural ruler and guide. It is the most divine part that we have. The word he used was contemplation. The word that we might use is meditation. It's by putting the senses on hold and by going within to meditation that the most active part of us comes forward. And thus we're able to achieve the most wonderful thing that we all desire, happiness. Now here's the best part. Aristotle, being Aristotle, would never say something like, well, you should do this, without giving reasons to support the teachings. So thus, let me now give you the 5 reasons that Aristotle taught about the importance of meditation. You wonder how he had all this together 2,500 years ago, huh? And then share with you his brilliant comment on happiness in the conclusion. First, the 5 reasons why meditation is the best part of who we are and will give us the ultimate happiness. Makes sense, doesn't it? Let's see if it feels right. Let's see if it works all the time. So the first one, honestly, is my favorite one. The first reason why meditation is the most important thing we can possibly do in life is because it takes thought of things that are most noble and divine. It focuses on things that are most noble and divine. In a nutshell, it focuses on the best things to know in life. For example, the absolute best thing to know in life is that we are not only created by a loving God, but we are created in the very image and likeness of God. We are of the substance of God. That we are eternal beings of light and love. And when we live in this way, not only do we have happiness, but we actually move into the greater experiences of joy. And dare I say, bliss. That we are one with all of creation. And that when we love all of creation, we are actually loving God and ourselves. Now, again, there's nothing wrong with loving our bodies and the things of the world, for they are part of creation. But rather, we must see them as temporary expressions of our light and love. And let's hope they are temporary expressions of our light and love, not that self-centered ego. It keeps trying to get things that never satisfy. So while this first point was my favorite one, the following ones aren't bad either. Aristotle's second point concerning the excellence of meditation is one that many of you are identifying with now. The second point is that it is the most continuous activity that we can do. You can do it all the time. Let me explain. When we meditate, we focus on the God presence within us. But here's the important point. When you are finished meditating, do you not take that feeling of the God presence within you with you? Let me repeat this. When you're done meditating, 15, 20, half hour, hour, do you not take that presence with you? Thus, the feeling of the God Spirit in meditation becomes a conscious, continuous presence with us throughout the day. It's a conscious, continuous presence for many of us now. Honestly, is this not true? That the effect of meditation extends far beyond the time we are meditating. It is a conscious, continuous energy that affects us throughout the day. Isn't this what many of you are now experiencing? Honestly, this conscious, continuous presence of the God Spirit, rather than the ups and downs of the world. For many of us, it's true. God is always on our mind. It's true. We are in this presence, in this power of the now. Aristotle's third point. In a nutshell, Aristotle teaches that the pleasures of meditation are marvelous for their purity and their enduringness. The pleasures of meditation feel great and last far beyond the time we are simply meditating. But here's the point. The pleasures of meditation, pure and long-lasting, are the antidote to the pleasures of the senses that are often superficial and passing and don't satisfy us deep down. The pure and enduring pleasure of meditation satisfies us deep down, and it's the antidote of not getting lost in the stuff. It just doesn't satisfy because you're no longer lost. You're satisfied and don't get duped anymore. It's the pure and lasting pleasures of meditation that get us off of the hamster wheel of suffering. You have to take a look at that and see if that's true. It's the pure and lasting pleasures of meditation that get us off the hamster wheel of suffering. Not that we don't enjoy the things of the world. I'm having a lovely birthday today. It comes and goes. But it's the pure and lasting pleasures of meditation that I'm sharing with you now and will do shortly that satisfy and fulfill, as opposed to the endless desires of the body and the world that eventually disappoint us and lead to suffering. We need to put first things first so we don't get back on that hamster wheel. Okay, Aristotle's fourth point. Again, Aristotle was so smart, just so keen. The fourth point is that meditation is a self-sufficient activity. It's a self-sufficient activity. It doesn't take anyone or anything to meditate. You don't need any equipment. You don't need anyone else. You just need yourself. While the pleasures of the body and the world always involve someone or something, you finally begin to realize that they're never going to be a focal point of true happiness, because those someones and some things have a tendency to change. You know the all the time obvious result. You become dependent. You become dependent on someone or something for your happiness. And my dear friends, you have now entered the danger zone. You've entered the danger zone when you become dependent on someone or something outside of yourself for happiness. You have become dependent on something, someone that eventually will change, whether it's your body, another person, money, or physical pleasures. It's a danger. Doesn't mean we can't enjoy all those things, but not becoming dependent on them. Fifth point of Aristotle. In the simplest words possible, Aristotle says that meditation, while it uplifts everyone, including yourself and everything, it's simply done for its own sake. Meditation is an end in itself. Makes you happy. Nothing better to be in that state of being. Meditation simply results in the joy of being, a sense of bliss. It makes us feel whole. And it's a pleasure that surpasses everything else. How absolutely beautiful is Aristotle's presentation of meditation, which resolves our greatest delusion, believing in the necessity of fulfilling worldly desires and duties before satisfying your first desire for the God Spirit. How wonderful not to be deluded by the superficial pleasures of the body and the world anymore, and to rise to the happiness that has always been at the very center of ourselves, the joy that is one with the God Spirit, no longer deluded, but now rising in joy, and might I say, in bliss. Don't you feel that right now? Right now. In conclusion, a little more Aristotle on happiness. Aristotle concludes his section on happiness by again alluding to the divine energy at our center in these beautiful words. These are among my favorite. As far as you can, he says, make yourself immortal and strain every nerve to live in accordance with the best thing in you. I love those words. As far as you can, make yourself immortal and strain every nerve to live in accordance with the best thing that is in you. The best thing that is in us is the God Spirit. I think I said it'll give you the greatest happiness. Now that you know better, you can do better. Oh, yes, of course, we will no longer, in a sense, be deluded, for we will do better together. Let me now bring you into our meditation. Let's begin as we always do by just focusing on the breath, just breathing in and breathing out. Should be very easy for you to do right now. Let the breath carry you right inside to the very center of your being. Please begin. Go right into your center, maybe just placing your hand over your sternum and just breathing right into that soul self, right at the very center of you. And would you notice today, not just a sense of calmness within you, but today, in light of today's teaching, would you not notice within you a sense of joy? Joy. Joy. Okay, here it is. Isn't this where you are most happy? Right now, right at this moment? Are you not consciously, genuinely in the joy of your being? I mean, you got to be smiling. You're in the joy of your being. Notice the feeling. Notice how happy you feel just right now, right at this moment. I mean, this is you. This is your life. Just notice, well, you know, I'm really happy. I'm happy deep down, yet consciously at the center of my being. Here's the best part. Because I'm happy here, I can be happy anywhere. Because I'm happy here, consciously, within myself. This is not a fabrication. This is the state of your being. Because I'm happy here, I can be happy anywhere. Let's just say it again. Because I'm happy here, this is you. Are you not genuinely happy within yourself? You're plugged in. You can be happy anywhere because the feeling does not leave you. The feeling does not leave you as long as you take at least a little bit of time each day to renew yourself in it. So put it to the test today. Just put it to the test. In a few minutes, we'll be done with our service. Okay. So let's bring it throughout the rest of the day. It'll be easy to carry with you. It's a presence. And then just see the difference it makes going from here to anywhere. We are so wonderfully created.
I honor thee. I honor thee. Namaste. I honor thee. I honor thee. I honor thee. Namaste. I honor thee. Deep within, peace rings silent. Faith abounds and love abides. The light shines bright to love without. I honor thee. 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 Namaste. I when you are where you need that space. I only see through eyes of you, see through spirit. I honor thee. I honor thee. I honor thee. Namaste. I honor thee. 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 Namaste. I honor thee.
What a joy to share these teachings of Aristotle with you, with a little twist from the Buddha and some spirituality thrown in. How about his words? As far as you can, make yourself immortal and strain every nerve to live in accordance with the best thing in you. We're helping each other to do that. And we continue to raise ourselves up to the best thing and enjoy the happiness, the bliss that ensues. Namaste, dear ones. Namaste.